The case ending in a mistrial after jurors were unable to reach a unanimous decision following about 26 hours of deliberations over 4+ days. 3 separate times, the jury told the judge they could not come to a unanimous consensus. The judge urged them to continue deliberating. They brought this up on Friday, again earlier this morning, but the trial came to an end when this note came to the judge's desk this afternoon.
Judge Cannoni, despite our rigorous efforts, we continue to find ourselves at an impasse. Our perspectives on the evidence are starkly divided. Some members of the jury firmly believe that the evidence surpasses the burden of proof, establishing the elements of the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Conversely, others find the evidence fails to meet this standard and does not sufficiently establish the necessary elements of the charges. The deep division is not due to a lack of effort or diligence, but rather a sincere adherence to our individual principles and moral convictions. To continue to deliberate would be futile and only serve to force us to compromise these deeply held beliefs.
Notice you said plural there, so it sounds like it wasn't 11-1. It was at least 10-2, one way or the other. But now, prosecutors saying she will be tried again. Karen Reed, who argues that her boyfriend, John O'Keefe's death, was a cover-up carried out by Boston cops and troopers, joined her legal team to address the decision today.
Folks, this is what it looks like when you bring false charges against an innocent person. The Commonwealth did their worst. They failed. They failed miserably, and they'll continue to fail. No matter how long it takes, no matter how long they keep trying, we will not stop fighting. We have no quit.
All right, well, the prosecutors don't seem to be quitting either, with the Norfolk DA's office saying, first, we thank the O'Keefe family for their commitment and dedication to this long process. They maintain sight of the true core of this case to find justice for John O'Keefe. The Commonwealth intends to retry the case. Joining me now is Jarrett Ferentino. He's a former homicide prosecutor and the co-host of the Primetime Crime podcast, and Misty Marris. She's a trial attorney and legal analyst. They both have been following the case closely. All right, so Misty, you had predicted after seeing the sort of disastrous testimony of the lead investigator that there would be an all-out acquittal here. Are you surprised by the hung jury?
You know, I'm not surprised by the hung jury, Dan, because as much as I actually thought Proctor's testimony completely torpedoed the prosecution's case, seeing a hung jury isn't really too surprising, because it seems, especially since the jury came back basically 3 times saying that they were at an impasse, they were obviously torn on the common element of the 3 charges, which were different levels of intent, but one element remained the same. They had to believe that the prosecutors proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Karen Reed caused the death of O'Keefe. And here the defense did an excellent job of really impugning the investigation in order to raise that reasonable doubt. They didn't have to prove their theory. All they had to do was convince some of the jurors that there was simply not enough evidence.
So, Jarrett, what do you think prosecutors do differently next time around?
You know, Dan, it's difficult, but they have to regroup. I look at a retrial like this, like Rocky II. Everybody's expecting the southpaw to come in and Mickey taught him to fight right-handed. That's what they have to do. They got to come at this as differently as they possibly can, but you know as well as I do, they're going to be confined by the testimony of trial 1. So try a little bit of a strategically different approach, but you're stuck with the facts from round 1. That's, you know, I look at this and I think they're tied with many of the facts in the law, but their strategy and arguments could get better and refined, and they could learn from their mistakes.
Misty, who's at more of an advantage in the next trial in terms of having a round 2?
I actually think the defense is very much in the seat of the advantage, and there's a couple of reasons. There's some other things that may be happening in this interim period between this trial and the next go-around. Number one, Proctor has now been removed from his position, and there's an internal investigation. We don't know what the results of that will yield. Also, there had been an indication that the federal government, the DOJ, was actually looking into the investigation and how it unfolded. If that is in fact the case, there could be a lot more for the defense to use and put in their arsenal moving forward with the second trial. And I think that's a great point to think about how to reframe this trial. I almost think the prosecutors take the intentional murder off of the table and focus on the reckless and focus on her intoxication as opposed to trying to go that extra level and prove the intent.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.